What's up, guys? So today the results are in and they are shocking. Well, a little shocking, I'll say that. So this is my results for my Ancestry.com DNA testing. You know, I was interested, I was curious. Around Christmas time, a little before Christmas, like early December, Christine and I were talking about heritage and stuff, and her family is mostly Portuguese. Her father was Puerto Rican, so she knows she's Puerto Rican and Portuguese. Her family is very connected, you know what I mean? Very together, and lots of cousins, lots of aunts and uncles, and, you know, her grandmother is still around, and lots of stories, and, you know, it's just easier to kind of look back and say, okay, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, right? My family, not so much. My family's broken apart. A lot of people in my family passed away. I don't have any of my grandparents left. I don't have anyone to really talk to about heritage and hear these stories and stuff like that, right? So I was just kind of curious. I'm like, you know, my whole life, my parents told me I was German and Italian. There's a lot of German on both sides of my family, apparently. And there was a lot of Italian on both sides of my family. There was always like random things in question. Like on my father's side, I've always heard that I was like a little bit American Indian and maybe a little bit like Irish or Scottish and like all these kind of question marks, you know, but there was never any real, you know, proof of anything. The only thing that I knew for sure was that on my father's side, my grandmother was German, like born, raised in Germany. Her whole family was from Germany. My grandfather was a vet. Actually, both my grandfathers, my mother's father as well as my father's father, served in wars, both the Korean War. My father served in the Army for 4 years, but didn't go off to war, luckily. But my grandfather on my father's side, during the Korean War, was stationed in Germany for a while, and that's where he met my grandmother. So they, of course, fell in love like a lot of military guys that go overseas, and they bring back their ladies, right? So he brought back this German woman to America, and you know, had a wonderful, wonderful life. And unfortunately, my grandmother passed away very young. She had cervical cancer, and during that time period, it's just, you know, research on cancer and stuff was not like what it is today. So you know, it's very, very sad. She died pretty young. My dad was only, I think, like 12 years old. But yeah, I happen to know that she was German, like from Germany. German heritage is all Germany, right? So I know there was in there somewhere. But anyway, I got the results, and I have to say I'm pretty surprised by not only what is in there, but the percentages. So here we go. This is the, I'll give you a quick close-up. All right, so you can see that's what I am. And let's go over it. So, what am I mostly? I'm not mostly Italian or German. I'm mostly English, all right? I am 38% from England, okay? Like straight up England. So, big shout out to my peeps, my people over in England and that whole area, which is, it's kind of cool. It's just, I was totally surprised. I really thought it would be one side or the other as far as Italian and German. I thought, all right, well, maybe I'm more Italian than I think, or maybe I'm more German than I think. And I was thrown off by that. So yeah, the first thing on here is England and Western Europe. Very interesting stuff. So the second most predominant is Germanic Europe, which again, not a super big surprise because there's German on both sides of the family and because of my grandmother, right? So English, German. The next one is Northern Italy, specifically Northern Italy, like Sicily. So it's just, you know, the German Italy thing was not a shock at all. But as I go down the list more, that is shocking. So English, German, Italy, and then the next one is Eastern Europe and Russia. I'm 11% Russian. I had no idea. Now, it's really funny because where I live, there is a huge population of Russian people. And it's just one of those things where when we first moved here, I moved here with my family about, I don't know, 17 years ago, something like that. And there was like a few Russian families here. I didn't really think much of it. I've actually never been around any kind of Russian people at all. But these were like people from Russia who moved to New York City, who then moved to my area. And all these years later, there's been a lot of integration of more Russian people. A lot of Russian people from literally New York, because like, you know, New York is like known all around the world. Like California is known all around the world. So I think a lot of times when foreigners move here, they don't necessarily move to like the middle of Minnesota. They go to these places they've always heard about, right? So for some reason, a lot of Russians migrated to New York, and then they all migrated literally to my area. A lot of these people have a lot of money, big homes, things like that. They're really nice people overall. I just have no idea what they're saying because they speak Russian. So it's just interesting that those are my people, all right? At least 11%. Now, by the way, these percentages, there's also ranges too. Like it says 11, it could be like from 8% to 13%, something like that. You know what I mean? So there, it's not like exact. This is just giving the exact percentage based on what they know. If you start really getting into the whole genealogy and trees and all that kind of stuff, the more people you link up with the website, they refine these numbers to be more precise. You know what I mean? But just in generalities, as far as actual DNA goes, this is what they came up with, right? So let's start from the beginning. Mostly English, then German, then Italian, then Russian. Then this one was a pleasant surprise, 5% Portuguese, which is cool because if you don't know already, my wife is Portuguese, as I just mentioned early in the video. So you should know if you're paying attention. Then I'm also 5% Scotland or Scottish, which is pretty interesting because I know that my great uncle, my grandfather's half brother, Jeff, who I was named after, by the way, Jeff Smith, and who is a judge somewhere, I can't tell you where. Really interesting person. Actually, I'm going to have a chance to see him soon. But he went to Scotland and he knows he has Scottish in and all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely on my father's side of the family. His daughter went there for schooling and stuff. Really wonderful family and everything. Very intelligent, very educated in the whole thing. But yeah, so that's, you know, the Scottish part of me. Then going down, 4% Southern Italy, 3% Sweden, 2% Greece and Albania, and 2% Middle East. Now again, as far as Middle East, and well, all these things, there are specific areas like Israel, and I forget some of the other ones from the Middle East, but the 2% could be like anywhere from 0 to 2%. Obviously, the further down the list you go, the more blurry, more of a kind of question mark there is. Then it also says additional communities, early New England settlers, as well as coastal Maine settlers. Now, what's interesting is that because I'm mostly English, they'll show like maps and stuff. I didn't print all the things to show you here, but they'll show, you know, whatever it is, 1725 to 1750. The original English settlers, you know, came from England all the way across the ocean to northern Maine, New Jersey, New York kind of area, like more coastal, maybe not New York. But New Jersey, Maine is the biggest concentration of those English settlers that came to the Americas, right? So that's like the most heritage. If you go up in the family tree, bunch of English people, boop, got in a boat, came to New Jersey, which ironically I grew up in. I grew up in New Jersey. So, and there's a lot of, I suppose, English people in New Jersey, or at least originally were. As time goes on, different types of people congregate and they move different places around the world, right? So like if you look at the dates up to like 1800s, 1850s, you know, they also spread out like to California and stuff. So there's a good chunk of those original English settlers that stayed, and then, you know, some of them spread all the way out to the West Coast. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't know. It's crazy that I'm mostly from England. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's my story. Now here's something else I thought was really interesting. Because I'm a Smith, right, it's such a common name, but I do have a lot of relatives that happen to use this site. So if you go to Ancestry.com and you actually have a profile, that's the only way I'm going to know about you. Or if someone who's already there filled someone else in their tree, you know what I'm saying? So there's cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff that I know exist, obviously, in my life, but they're not in the family tree that's on there or anything like that, just because they didn't participate and the family members that they're related to didn't put them on there. You know, so you can only go by the information of people who actively use the website. However, I did confirm that there's 2 or 3 cousins. I have second cousins and third cousins that I know, like I've seen, I hung out with, you know, as a child and things like that. So it's cool to see how that's related and stuff. But as you go down the list, you know, I have 4th and 5th cousins and stuff that, you know, and there's hundreds of them. I have 200 or 300 4th to 6th, I think. Or no, it's 4th to 6th cousins. Now that's obviously distant. That's, you know, relating from this person and to that person and that person. But one particular name stood out to me, which I couldn't pass up. So I had to research it a little bit. And that was George Davison Hitler. That's right, I'm related to a Hitler. So George's parents were also George Davison Hitler Sr. and Janet Slemons. But George Davidson Hitler Sr.'s dad was Gay Ludwig Hitler. So literally the guy's name was Gay Hitler. And I started doing some research on Gay Hitler. He was a very well-known doctor, a dentist, but referred to him as a doctor. Because dentists are doctors too, right? And I saw an interesting article online because, like, the family heritage, they had like a cemetery. There was even a Hitler Street. And like the news article is basically saying that people are offended now. And I don't know when this was published. I didn't look at the date. It could have been in the 90s, 2000s, who knows. But someone at some point is like driving down Hitler Street and they're going, hey, you know what? Maybe this street shouldn't be called Hitler Street. And then the cemetery, the whatever it was, Hitler Cemetery. And it's like, it was offensive to people, which first of all is dumb. And this is why I'm so against cancel culture, right? Is because you can't, it doesn't matter how dirty or horrible or offensive the past is, you have to learn from it. You understand that? You can't just pretend it didn't exist. I'm sorry people get offended by things, but oh well. Okay, everything's offensive to someone. It all comes down to an opinion, and we're all allowed to have different opinions, right? So this whole article was about how they wanted to, basically demolish all these things that had the Hitler name on it. But this was just a family in the past. That's all. I mean, this guy, Gay Ludwig Hitler, was born 1882, right? He died in 1948, but 1882, even when he was 10, 1892, no one knew the Hitler name wasn't a household name like Coca-Cola. No one knew that Hitler was a bad thing, right? But today, obviously, you say the word Hitler and people know exactly what you're talking about. And all of a sudden, people get a little uncomfortable. Uh-oh, Hitler, right? So anyway, the point is that, I'm related to a Hitler. Now, I did just a teeny weeny bit of research. And again, that's why I came up with Gay Hitler. And, reading his story about being a dentist and all that kind of stuff. I saw his little gravestone, which I'm surprised wasn't covered in feces and urine, to be honest, because if you're walking through a grave site and you see the word Hitler and you're very immature, I'm sure you could think of all kinds of things to do. But that was about it. I don't know if I'm actually related to Adolf Hitler, okay? Hitler was not a common name. So who knows? Maybe, maybe not. I don't have any interest really looking at it right this second, maybe in the future. This whole thing, like I said, it was super fascinating, the whole genealogy thing. Hitler, obviously, Adolf Hitler was such a studied person. I'm sure there's a website you can go to and see all his relatives and how it breaks down, all that kind of stuff. So one day, maybe I'll look into it. I doubt it's actually Adolf Hitler, but you don't really know. But even if I was related to Hitler, it doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It's such a distant thing. Some people, I shouldn't say some people, there's a lot of people that were probably related to a slave owner. It doesn't mean you're for it or against it or anything like that. It just happens to be, you know what I'm saying? For most of our families, our lineage dies with our grandparents, Most people don't know much about their great-grandparents. And even if they do know about their great-grandparents, they don't know about their great-great-grandparents or their eighth cousin that's barely related to them. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is, but it's fascinating. The whole thing is fascinating. And I'm like looking through and it's all these different names. I'm like, oh, Hitler. Okay. And I keep going. I'm like, wait a minute. Hitler? Did I read that right? But yeah. So, it's a thing. So anyway, that is that. Now, as far as like my personal family tree and stuff, you could spend, weeks and weeks and months and years trying to figure out your whole family and how everyone's tied together and stuff. I don't have that much interest in it, to be honest. The most fascinating thing I found was I had a second cousin who was my grandfather's brother's granddaughter. Okay, so we're equal. That's why we're third or second cousins. So that is my mother's cousin, right? That's why she's my second cousin. Anyway, so my grandfather, my mother's father, all right, John something. I'm not going to give his last name in the video. But unfortunately, he passed away when I was young. I was 6 years old. But I have fond memories. He used to take me down. He had like a workbench, a whole basement thing. That was like his man cave. You know what I'm saying? He was he smoked a pipe and cigars. He was kind of like an old man's man. He was a lawyer. And my grandmother was a very traditional woman. So she actually wanted to work. He wouldn't let her work. He's like, no, the man makes the money. That kind of era. You know what I'm saying? So he made a good living being a lawyer and stuff. And he had a glass eye, and I didn't know that until I was an adult. When he was a little kid, him and his friend were playing with like lead airplanes, because that's what you did when you were a kid, when he was a kid. And his friend went zoom right into his friggin' eyeball. and his eyeball was taken out, and he put a glass eye in. And I never noticed, so obviously it was a good one. You can't really tell unless he's in certain pictures on an angle. One eye moves and the other one doesn't, obviously. But fascinating guy, wonderful guy, loved technology. When I was a kid, he probably owned every single thing that Radio Shack ever sold. Loved it. Loved getting new phones, you know, an answer machine was like a cool thing, all the new technology and stuff, calculators, you name it. But anyway, he had a blood brother named Cyrus. Now, Cyrus was extremely, like, eccentric, all right? He was in the news for a couple things. He was like an idiot savant. He was really a genius, extremely successful. He was never really part of my life. Like, I don't remember ever meeting him when I was younger, okay? Because Cy lived in a different part of the country. I remember there was a news clipping because he pulled a gun and shot someone, I think, you know, and it was like in the news. Some crazy story. But anyway, yes, his granddaughter is on there, and I think she's like roughly my age. So I tried to connect with her. I sent a message. You know, I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, maybe a new friendship, you know, because we're family, second cousins. But it's just the whole thing, like I said, it can be really fascinating, or it can be really boring, depending on who you are. But this could be its own hobby within itself. I just don't have time for it. You could spend just thousands of hours trying to figure out who in your family is connected to who, going all the way back to the beginning of civilization, you know. But I don't have too much interest in it. I was very curious to get this. And now that I have this, cool. What I'll probably do, though, is I want to do the 23andMe down the road. You know, it's not like a rush right now, but I would like to do the 23andMe just to see if it's different from the Ancestry one, because that would be interesting. Because then you'd have to question it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at a clock, you go, okay, it says 2:30. But you look at another clock and it says it's, you know, 3:30. Well, which one's wrong? Do you know what I'm saying? If I get a 23andMe and it's the same thing, I'll go, okay, this is legit. You know what I'm saying? But I have no reference for this. This is just some company basing on what, public records, you know? So who knows? But yeah, so that's it. That's my my results in case you were curious. I am German and Italian like I thought, but not as much as I thought. And I'm mostly English. So I'm still very much a white guy, right? I guess I have to drink a little more tea now, which is fine. I like tea. Obviously, that's my drink because I'm English. I'll probably get a bigger smile when I'm watching Austin Powers, but I don't think this is going to change my life. You know what I'm saying? I do think it's funny, though, that I am 5% Portuguese, so at least when I'm visiting my wife's side of the family and stuff, I feel just a little bit closer. You know what I'm saying? I can throw that joke around every now and again that, hey, look, I'm Portuguese too. Not really. But and I definitely need to learn the language. Now, here's an aside if you don't know. Portuguese, if you try to learn Portuguese, almost every single place that will teach you it will teach you Brazilian Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese is not the same as Portuguese from Portugal. My wife's family is literally from Portugal. Her grandmother moved here to America in like the 50s or something. They constantly go back and forth. My mother-in-law came to America when she was a young girl too. They have so much family still there. They visit there all the time. There's part of her family that go there every single summer and stuff. So eventually I'll travel to Portugal. But it's just the language is very different in Portugal. It's almost like if you speak English and you're talking to one person from New York City and then you talk to someone from like Kentucky. Do you know what I'm saying? And then you talk to someone, there's a different accent there. So you might understand what they're saying, but certain words are very different. So like I've tried to privately, like secretly learn some Portuguese to like, you know, surprise Christina. And she's like, what are you saying? Because first of all, I'm not saying it right to begin with. And I have a weird accent because I'm trying too hard, you know. But she's like, do not learn Brazilian Portuguese. It is not the same. But anyway, so if you didn't know that, now you do. So if you learn Portuguese through like Rosetta Stone or something, and then you go to Portugal, people might look at you funny. If you go to Brazil, you'd be fine. You know, it's just, I never knew that. So I'm passing on to you guys. So that is it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'm English. So I'm still very much Whitey Whiterson. There you go. Have a great day, guys. I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.